Hello, so how do you feel reaching at the door 4 of 5 doorways to photography? I hope you are enjoying the lectures and the modules that I am putting up and that you find it beneficial. You are growing in your photography, and now we are approaching into the depths. So the three topics that we talked in the previous modules, they are the very basics of photography. To create life in any photo, we need those three doors, those three elements of shapes, lights, and color, or black and white. And until there, it's more the visual aesthetic and the visual appeal. But now we are going to enter into deeper domains of photography, and I'm sure you're going to like it because it's going to be really enriching to your visual storytelling. I am Prashant Rana. I am a documentary photographer. I give workshops and exhibitions all over the world. I also invented a card photography game called Exposed, which we will talk about later in the video. It's a wonderful game to practice photography and create new challenges and creative constraints to grow in your photography. So if you are curious, stay with me until the end. We start with the reinforcement of the idea why we need 5 doors, and we need different doors, different entry points, not because we create them, it's just because they are there. The visual language appeals to everybody in its own subjective way. Everyone connects differently with photos. Some people immediately enjoy light, some people immediately enjoy shapes, and that's why their entry points to photography is different. And once we explore these different doors, we reach to the conclusion that we need all these doors in a photo to create an iconic photo. Today we are going to talk about door 4, which is symbology, symbols. Symbols are like the energy in your photo. You can say that with the previous 3 topics that we discussed, we learned to lay the ground for a viewer to enter into photo, because they are attracted by colors, shapes, and lights, or black and white. But with symbol, we put life in that plane. So we create a building with the 3 previous elements discussed, and then in that building, we infuse life using symbols. Symbols is not limited to something religious or political. Symbols are far deeper than that. In fact, as human beings, we grow with symbols since we are born. Anything that creates an emotional or a rational response in your brain or in your heart is a symbol. We are surrounded by symbols. On a traffic light, we stop when it's red, we go when it's green. That's because that red and green are symbols to our brain, and they send signals far more important than just the color. The same way, different logos of different brands are symbols. They are showing more than what they actually show on the plane. And because all these symbols are visual, they can be represented in photography. And when we put these symbols in our photos, we tell more than what we show. That means we start to do storytelling through our photos, and we start to reach the emotional or the rational side of the viewers and have an interaction in the visual language. That's how we visually communicate. So what are these symbols? Well, a symbol can be personal. A personal symbol is when your personal life has an association with that symbol. Maybe you had an accident and you associate your feeling with that particular brand of cars. Maybe you like a fruit. Maybe there is an ice cream that you used to eat as a child and till today it's your favorite and it's your symbol. Maybe there is a color that you personally like or dislike. These personal symbols are very private to us. They have roots in our private personal life, individual life. So these symbols can be used in photography the same way sociocultural symbols are when we derive our understanding of the outer world through our sociocultural political environment. Religious symbols are a very good example for this. Almost all religions derive their narratives through symbology, and almost all political parties they go through certain kind of infusion of symbology into the masses. And universal symbols are more applicable to all of humanity. Every person associate feelings with forests, flowers, birds, children. These symbols they go beyond our understanding of race, culture, language, and countries and political affiliations. Using these different kind of symbologies, we can create different kinds of narratives in our photos. Like for example, personal symbols are when your personal life is reflected in that symbol. Maybe you like that fruit and you are taking photos of that fruit. Maybe you have a personal association with a certain kind of watch. Maybe a color attracts you more than other colors, and your own body is a wonderful example of personal symbol because the body is very personal. And when you start using these personal symbols in photos, you also start telling visual stories that goes beyond just plain narration of what was in front of the camera. It has more deeper sense of understanding of that particular scene. A self-portrait is a wonderful example of personal symbol. I suggest you start taking self-portraits in different scenarios with different kind of stories in your head and try to use your own body in your photos to convey that emotion that you're feeling. Sociocultural symbols, as we talked about it, it is derived from society, politics, and media. How to distinguish between personal and sociocultural symbols is it requires a certain sense of interrogation in your own understanding of the world, and soon you will realize that these symbols are sometimes the same, but mostly they are different. Cats are a wonderful example of that because in each culture there is a story about cats and how cats are symbols or representation of something inauspicious, something bad, and in other cultures something really good, something representing the gods. Colors, for example, black and white are very specific colors, differently understood in Eastern and Western cultures. So these are the examples of how sociocultural symbolism works in photography. Then universal symbols, as we said, they go beyond the understanding of race, language, and political understanding. Forests, sun, moon, newborn child, these, these are universal symbols. When you use them in your photos, you also expand the horizon of your viewership, and this can be really good. Birds are universal symbols. Everybody associate similar feelings with birds. Not all kinds of birds, but birds in general. The distinction between these symbols is not as simple as saying, this is that symbol, this is a personal symbol. Sometimes one symbol can be personal, universal, and sociocultural. Sometimes one symbol can be just personal. Sometimes one symbol can be just universal. This has to be studied by you as photographer. You go looking at different photos and start classifying different elements used in those photos as personal, universal, and sociopolitical. Once you get yourself into that kind of study, you will soon start creating your own chart of symbology, and that is going to benefit a lot your photography, because like we said, in that moment you are going to have a decisive hand in what kind of life energy you want to put in your photos. Try to play with that idea for some time. Everything that is in your photo is a symbol. The empty space and the object both are symbols. The object can be personal or socio-political symbol, and the empty space is always a cultural symbol. So maybe it doesn't look very visually appealing to you. It is going to convey something to your viewers. So it's good to be conscious about that. And we will talk more about this aspect of photography in the upcoming module. Just pay attention to how the same symbol of butterfly changes its meaning and its feeling in these different photos and how they are being used. So the photo 1 is here. In photo 2, you see the butterfly has changed its sensation. And in photo 3, you see a completely different representation of a butterfly. So just try to pay attention how your feelings change with each photo. So this is to tell you that you can create your own symbology. You can use the same symbol in different ways. You can play with the idea of using symbols in your photos, because inevitably you are going to use symbols in your photo, because every color is a symbol, every shape is a symbol, every black and white is a symbol. The saturation or non-saturation, the contrast or not so contrasty image, they all are symbols. And usually in commercial photography, we rely more upon the socio-political, socio-cultural symbology, because we have a specific market to approach. In art photography, we rely so much upon our personal symbology, because we are narrating something, we are telling something deeply personal in that photography, in that field of photography. Then in documentary photography, we try to use universal symbols, because we want to reach to a more wider audience. And in each type of photography, we need a different type of symbolic narration of visual elements. Try to play with that idea. You can have some more examples here where different symbols are being portrayed artistically in one way. Then if you read or write poetry, you are already familiar with symbology, because poetry relies so much upon not just visual symbols but also verbal symbols. When you play with that idea of having visual symbol in your photo and then using certain verbal symbols also visually, you start opening a door of photography which connects you with so many viewers all across the world, far beyond your own culture. So I suggest you don't limit yourself to just your own socio-cultural symbology. try to expand your horizon, try to go inwards and look for your own personal symbols, and try to go outwards and look for more universal symbols, and pay attention how each color, shape, and light becomes a symbol in your image, and they are conveying a certain sensation. When you mix all these sensations with a visual symbol in your photo, you are creating a strong iconic image. And I wish that you create more and more iconic images. I leave you with my contact details here. I am Prashant Rana. I can be found on Instagram as Prashant Rana _official. You can send me an email or a message and book a session to talk about something specific to your photographic journey, and I'll be honored to help you. If you are still curious about the photography card game that I mentioned in the beginning, I invite you to try that game whenever you can. You can find us on Instagram with exposed x_pos_d to send us a message if you have any questions about the game. You can find the game on Kickstarter, where if you support the Kickstarter project, you also receive the game as well as a book that compiles all the basic elements of photography and helps you to advance at a rapid pace using the game and the book. It's a game that can be a bonding activity between you and your children, because it can be played by up to 10 people. It can be played by a player of any age, starting from 5. I played this game with my nephew, who is 5, now going to be 6. It's a game that has shown conclusive growth in visual understanding in more than 200 players in different workshops and different schools. So it's a wonderful idea. I invite you to try it out. I am looking forward to see you in the next module, which will be our 5th door. And then there are some keys waiting for you. So stay tuned and see you soon.